You left about, I think, 12.
You want me to do three per chapter?
You left about 12. So if you want to do it started from the senior demigods.
12? 312?
Yes.
Okay.
And I have to go with it.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 15th day of 2018 in Arizona, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are on chapter 3, Karma Yoga, text number 12. Chapter 3, text 12. Page numbers won't help. Chapter 3, text 12. Don't put the book on the ground. Gopa, come on. Gopa, come on. Gopa, come on. Can't hear me. No book on the ground. Please, off the ground. Okay. 3:12. Ishtan Bogan Vivodeva. Tasyante Ayavatan Padhaya Jo Yobunte Stena Eva Saha Ishtan Bogan Vivodeva Dasyante Yagyabhavta Ayavatan Padhaya Jo Yobunte Stena Eva Saha Ishtan Bogan Vivodeva Dasyante Yagyabhavita Adattana Pradhayabhyo Yobhunte Stena Eva Saha. Please chant. Ishtan Bogan Vivodeva Dasyante Yagyabhavita Adattana Pradhayabhyo Yobhunte Stena Eva Saha. Someone else? One more. Ishtan Bogan Vivodeva Dasyante Yagyabhavita Ayadattana Pradhayabhyo Yobhunte Stena Eva Saha. Ishtan, desire. Bhogan, necessities of life. He, certainly. Vaha, unto you. Devaha, the demigods. Dasyante, will award. Yagyabhavita, being satisfied by the performance of sacrifices. Hai, by them. Dattan, things given. Apradaya, without offering. Ebhyaha, to these demigods. Yaha, he who. Bhunte, enjoys. Stenaha, thief. Eva, certainly. Saha, he. Translation. In charge of the various necessities of life, the demigods, being satisfied by the performance of yajna or sacrifice, will supply all necessities to you. But he who enjoys such gifts without offering them to the demigods in return is certainly a thief. Report. The demigods are authorized supplying agents on behalf of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. Therefore, they must be satisfied by the performance of prescribed yajnas. In the Vedas, there are different kinds of yajnas prescribed for different kinds of demigods, but all are ultimately offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For one who cannot understand what the Personality of Godhead is, sacrifice to the demigods is recommended. According to the different material qualities of the persons concerned, different types of yajnas are recommended in the Vedas. Worship of different demigods is also on the same basis, namely according to different qualities. For example, the meat eaters are recommended to worship the goddess Kali, the ghastly form of material nature. And before the goddess, the sacrifice of animals is recommended. But for those who are in the mode of goodness, the transcendental worship of Vishnu is recommended. But ultimately, all yajnas are meant for gradual promotion to the transcendental position. For ordinary men, at least 5 yajnas known as Pancha Mahayajna are necessary. One should know, however, that all the necessities of life that the human society requires are supplied by the demigod agents of the Lord. No one can manufacture anything. Take, for example, all the eatables of human society. These eatables include grains, fruits, vegetables, milk, sugar, etc., for the persons in the mode of goodness, and also eatables for the non-vegetarians, like meats, none of which can be manufactured by men. Then again, take, for example, heat, light, water, air, etc., which are also necessities of life. None of them can be manufactured by the human society. Without the Supreme Lord, there can be no profuse sunlight, moonlight, rainfall, breeze, etc., without which no one can live. Obviously, our life is dependent on supplies from the Lord. Even for our manufacturing enterprises, we require so many raw materials like metal, sulfur, mercury, manganese, and so many essentials, all of which are supplied by the agents of the Lord, with the purpose that we should make proper use of them to keep ourselves fit and healthy for the purpose of self-realization, leading to the ultimate goal of life, namely liberation from the material struggle for existence. This aim of life is attained by performance of yajnas. If we forget the purpose of human life and simply take supplies from the agents of the Lord for sense gratification and become more and more entangled in material existence, which is not the purpose of creation, certainly we become thieves, and therefore we are punished by the laws of nature, of material nature. A society of thieves can never be happy because they have no aim in life. The gross materialist thieves have no ultimate goal of life. They are simply directed to sense gratification, knowledge of how to perform yajnas. Lord Chaitanya, however, inaugurated the easiest performance of yajna, namely the Sankirtan yajna, which can be performed by anyone in the world who accepts the principles of Krishna consciousness. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmiditam Neha Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and to all members of Sri Parampara. So, this chapter, and this is kind of the first in the yoga ladder. There's 4 steps on that ladder. Karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga. So karma yoga begins where we're at, which is that we are acting in this material world, trying to make our way, gather enough things to live, get a roof over our head, and do all the necessary things to live in this world. But, this chapter is saying that without understanding the purpose of our karma in the broadest sense means simply activity, we simply get bound up by this karma. And we inevitably, if we have no idea, even of the demigods, what to speak of God, we'll be entangled more and more in the complexities of life. And later in the 4th chapter, there'll be the description of karma, akarma, and vikarma. One has to know that these very carefully to make our way in this world. So a key verse was a few verses back, where it says, Yagyartat kamanon yatra lokon yankama bandhana. Tadatam kamakonti yamukta samachana. That work has to be performed as a sacrifice for Vishnu. Otherwise, work causes bondage in this material world. Now, it may be a little puzzling how in the 11th and 12th verses we hear about sacrifices to the demigods. And now, if you don't make some sacrifice to the demigods, you're just a thief. You're enjoying the gifts of the demigods without giving them some offering and recognizing that they're supplying all these things. So the idea is that the demigod worship should serve as a it should serve as a stepping stone to understanding the importance of worshiping the Supreme Personality of God. Because whatever the demigods can give us is actually given by Krishna to them. This is explained later on in the 9th chapter. That in the 7th and 9th chapter, Krishna speaks very firmly against worshiping the demigods and simply solely worshiping me. But at least we should understand as a first step that we're dependent on higher powers. And those higher powers are the gods, who are nothing but the demigods, who are nothing but Krishna's agents for supplying us the rain and the water and the sunlight and air to breathe and all the other things we need to live. So this is a way of locating ourselves in this cosmic hierarchy and big existence that we're in, and understanding, first of all, that we're very dependent, that we shouldn't think that we are the masters and controllers and enjoyers of this world. That's a sure formula for continued bondage and continued suffering in this world. So this is what this chapter introduces. And this is actually a key verse, that the process of these three things, yajna, dana, and tapa, which will be discussed later on, these are in life. The sacrifice, austerity, and charity. Krishna says never give these up. They have to be performed in relation to Krishna. And especially when we talk about yajna, without fail, practically. Every verse that has the word yajna in Prabhupada will bring up the yajna of the age, the Sankirtan yajna, the sacrifice. But it's not a big complicated sacrifice to the gods where you have to have the exact pronunciation, you have to hire the priest, you have to find out the exact day and the time and have everything oriented just right geographically or it'll mess up. You know, Sankirtan yajna, anybody, anytime can practice. Prabhupada showed, he came to America and in New York City, he gathered a few former hippies, and after a few weeks, they're performing Sankirtan yajna on the streets of New York. The most auspicious yajna. It blows away all of the material yajnas. So this is this is Bhagavad Gita as it is. It starts out, this is a description of the worship of the demigods. Ishtan, Bhogan, Jivo Deva. You're worshiping the devas, and it's of life. You're making an offering to them in recognition of their supply. And then if you do that, then it says in the previous verse, the demigods being pleased by sacrifice will also, and thus by cooperation, the men and demigods, prosperity will reign for all. So this is the two verses, the whole totality of verses in the Bhagavad Gita where Krishna is recommending the demigod worship. But later on, he says, forget about it. In the 7th chapter, we find this key verse in text 19, where he says, Bahunam Jamanamante Gyanabhama Papadyade Vasudevik Sarvamiti Samahatma Sadurlabha. But then the very next verse, he's talking about Dhyana. He says that many births, you come to the point of real knowledge, and then you'll surrender to me. You'll surrender to Vasudeva, myself, understanding that I am everything. On the other hand, Kama Istaista Rita Dhyana, Upanyante Anya Devata, that if your knowledge is stolen away by various material desires, then you'll worship the various demigods to try to fulfill those desires. Tired of that, you'll follow rules and regulations just suitable to the particular mode of nature that you're in. And it says, so whatever your desire is, God you want to worship, fulfill, I'll make that faith wrong. And it doesn't even have to be, actually bona fide gods that you find in the Vedic culture. There are certainly Indra and Chandra real, but you can make up your own god. There's all kinds of worship going on. There's practically 10 religions invented every day on the internet. And if somebody's having faith, you go to different parts of this world, Africa, South America, they're worshiping this tree, that ghost, who knows, whatever. And he says, and you want to worship that? I'll make your faith strong. You see? And and worshiping with that faith, you'll get some kind of results, or you may imagine you're getting some results. Whatever you get, it's actually coming from me. But you're worshiping me indirectly through some god or some demigod, and that indirect worship is not going to take you back to God. Whatever God you worship, you go to that God. And then the conclusion is of this little lesson in why not to worship the demigods. He says, "Antabatu palam tesham, tadbhavot openly tesham, devan devi joyanti madbhakta yanti mamati." This echoes another verse in the 9th canto, Yanti Deva Vrata. So he says there, Andavatu palam, these fruits that you're trying to get are temporary. You're longing for some wealth or position or even going to the heavenly planets. But no matter what you get in this material world, even to the highest planet, Brahmaloka, it's bounded by time and it's temporary. Therefore, it cannot give you ultimate happiness. And therefore, those who are less intelligent openly disarm and get the temporary fruits. If you worship the gods, you go to the gods, but if you worship me, you come to me. And if you come to me, you'll be fully satisfied. You never have to come back again. So in the 9th chapter, he has a similar lesson. Why not worship? Solely worship me. So the point is that for those who can't accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it's better to worship the gods and be in the mode of goodness and recognize the authority of the Vedic literature, and to simply discard it, become a total atheist, and become a demon. So please stay within the Vedic culture. But ultimately, you don't want to divert your attention. Vaishnava divert our attention to any other god. This is chastity of a bhakta. He has faith that Krishna will provide everything that I need in this world, and especially he'll take me back to God for eternal life. This is a very important point. The Goswamis, Rupa Goswami, Bhakti Samhita Sindhu, he's directly forbidden genuine Vaishnavas from worshipping any other god. And we know the 10 offenses. Who think that the names of the gods are equal to or independent of the name of Vishnu. This is not right. It's not that just to be on the safe side, I'll worship Shiva a little bit and then forget. And don't forget Ganesh for the health of the business. No. Simply worship Krishna. And he says, Ananyas chintayanto mam ejana payupasate tesham nitya viyuktana yoga kshema vahamyaham. This phrase yoga kshema, yoga in this context, means the necessities of life. And kshema means our security. That's why he says, I provide what you need, I preserve what you have. That preserving is so important. You may be very wealthy, sitting in a big house, but if you don't have security, a hurricane is coming or some terrorists are coming, you can't enjoy it. You can't be happy. Out of the four necessities that we have in human life, eating, sleeping, mating, defending, which is violent and fury. The defending is really comes first. You may be eating, sleeping, or defending, eating, sleeping, or mating. But if your life is in danger, forget about all that. And that's fight or flight. You see what I'm saying? So that shema is your security. And Krishna says in this verse, if one is one-pointed in his devotion to me, I personally carry what they need, and I preserve what they have. So this is real faith. That when you think that all my needs and necessities of life will be provided by Krishna if I simply act in Krishna consciousness. And that means to do my job in Krishna consciousness without falling into illusion and trying to be separate from Krishna. So there's another verse that Prabhupada always quote from the Bhagavatam about what is our relation to these devas and rishis and everyone else. So devarshi bhutata vrinam patrinam nakinkaro naya vrini charar sarvanamya sharanam sharanyam gato mukundam padiritya kartam. Now, means that you're giving up the sense of being a separate doer and actor in this world. And you're simply sarvatmanam, you take of the person who you should really take shelter of, or you're taking the shelter of the pure devotees. And with your full body, mind, words, and everything. Sarvatmana sharanam. Gato mukundam. You've got the mukunda. Your mind is already on mukunda. And you've given up this sense of a separate actor. Then you're no longer a debtor in this world. Because we come into this world and we're so dependent to the devas for all our necessities, to the rishis for knowledge, for our teachers. That's devarshi, buddha, for other people. And all kinds of, not just people, but other living entities who are providing us with so much that we need. And people in general, the four, and servants, people who just, all of these are helping us to live in this world. But he says, Rini means the debtor. O king, you don't owe debts to anyone. As long as you surrender to Krishna, you recognize that he's supplying all of these other suppliers for us. You want something from Indra, we need something from Surya, we have to get the sunshine. Varuna is helping us so much with the water. And don't forget Vayu, with the air, breathing here. So every moment we depend. Mother Bhumi from the earth, isn't it? These are all gods who are giving us things. Worship Krishna, worship them. That's what's described here. Then you're no longer a thief. A debtor who doesn't pay back his debts becomes a thief, right? So we're born into this world as debtors, but we can liquidate all those debts, just like you have many credit cards in your wallet. You try to pay off it. You say, oh, I can't, it's too much. So you go and you consolidate all of it. You just pay once a month, right? I've never been in debt, so I don't know, but I know that that's what it is. So this is it. We consolidate the debt. We consolidate all our debts with Krishna. We owe Krishna, and we just serve Krishna, and everything's taken care of. And he gives the greatest benediction. Not only does he order all of the supports to supply us what we need for our necessities, but he gives us the greatest benefit, which they can't give us, which is liberation from this world and return back to God. So therefore, the conclusion is we should become sincere bhaktas of Krishna, and everything is taken care of. Like all in one fell swoop, all your problems are solved. The material problems have a spiritual solution. When you try to solve your material problems with the material solution, you stay entangled here. Prahlad Maharaj says, I love this verse. He describes the material condition very succinctly in two lines. He says, Yasmat priya priya viyoga sayoga janma shogagnina sakalayona shuddhaya mana dukkaushadam tadapi dukkhamatadhyaham bhuman gamali vadame tabadasya yogam. He's praying to Lord Nrsingadev here. Now here he describes very succinct what material life is. Yasmat priya priya viyoga sayoga janma shogagnina sakalayona shuddhaya mana. So here's what's happening. Think about it. In material life, those things which are dear to you, which you value very much, because ultimately your body itself, but even those things are very much taken away from you. Suppose you're used to enjoying a certain kind of thing. With time, Either that thing is separated from you, or your ability to enjoy it is taken. And so you're left with these unfulfilled desires and lamentation. So he says, shokagnina, burning in the fire of lamentation. So that's one thing. The things which are so important to you are either quickly or slowly taken away. And the things which are abominable to you, which you try to avoid, are eventually pushed in your face. You're forced to associate disease, old age. Nobody wants these things, but they're forced upon us. So this is the underlying nature of this material world. We try to get some security and happiness away, and the danger. So this produced shokagina, sakata yonashu. Not just human life, every living being is faced with these two things. Now, in the human form, we try to create a solution to the problem. This is called the dukkha aushadam. Now, you can see, but what it is, dukkha aushadam tadabidu. The very remedies provide more misery. You ever see these fancy pharmaceuticals that they come? You know, they'll have an advertisement, like in a magazine. You see, oh, this is it. We just created this to solve your depression. Right? You take one pill a day. Then you turn the page, and there's all of these side effects. If you have high blood pressure, this can, wreck your liver, or something like that. There's a whole list of them. So the dukkha aushadam, literally the herbal remedy for your misery, is causing more misery. And then he gives it like 3-4 syllables, the root of the whole problem. Atandiyaham. I'm thinking of something I'm not. Namely, I'm thinking of this body. Now that was 3 lines. In the 4th line, he provides a solution, the actual solution. He's speaking with the Lord Nrsimha. Bhuman bhamami badame tabadasya yogam. Oh great Lord, please instruct this wandering soul, wandering in this universe, different bodies, different planets, in the science of your dasya yoga, of your bhakti yoga. Dasya yoga means the science of serving God, of bhakti. So this is really a very instructive verse if you look at it. Those prayers of Prahlad are full of all kinds of wonderful wisdom. Prabhupada would quote them all the time. So Bhagavad Gita is Krishna's taking us here very succinctly through the different yogas. And ultimately in this chapter, to my mind, the last 6-7 verses are the crown jewel, because Arjuna asks a question that we all face. Because we're trying to be bhaktas, we're trying to be devotees of a certain level and go this way. And we know that it's the mind that's we have to work with in any yoga. Because the mind is saturated with these material desires, subject to be affected by the modes of nature. So he asks this question, Atakena prayukto yam, patam charli purusha, anichanna vivarshanaya bhaladi vinayojita. Such a cogent question. He says, Arjuna, he says, oh my dear Lord, Krishna, what is it that forces one to act even against his own interest? As if by force. Atakena prayuktam papam, sinful. Even against our better instincts. It's just like this war in your heart. You know what you should do, but you're reluctant to do it. And you know you shouldn't do that, now you're compelled to do it. So what is it? Kama. Kama. Born of the mode of passion is this powerful desire, beginning with sex desire, but it goes with all material desires of kama. And when it's frustrated, our desires inevitably become frustrated, we become angry. Now that anger is of course can be expressed, and we can do dire things that we wouldn't even do in our ordinary life. Or if you can't express the anger, you turn it inward, and it turns into depression. And you try to solve that with some drug or something. This is what's going on in this world. So Krishna says this karma is your real enemy, not those soldiers on the other side. The real enemy is our internal enemy. So then he describes that there's different degrees of covering of the soul. Aberton means covering. So the fire is covered by smoke. That's like the human life. You can see the brilliance of the fire, but there's smoke covered. So there's hope of dissipating the smoke and again the fire. And then there's the dust covering the mirror. It's a real dust. You can hardly see anything there. And then the deepest covering is like animal life, much more covered. The fetus in the womb, you can really the consciousness can't be shown. So then he says, this famous way, Dushman, it burns like fire and is never satisfied. So avitam jnanam, this material desire is what's covering our knowledge of ourselves as spirit souls, and our understanding of God. It's all a result of our material desire, which means our desire to enjoy separately Krishna. That was mentioned here, the desire to enjoy separately and not recognize the gods, then you're a thief. So what to speak of the desire to enjoy separately from Krishna? It's all part of the same rebelliousness, you see, and ego also. So then the knowledge of the knower, of the living entity, is covered by different degrees of this lust. And avidam jnanino nitya, eternal enemy, kama rupena, known as kama, and it is never satisfied but burns like fire. The more we try to satisfy our material desire, the more we implant those material desires in our heart. And then it comes out again and again in different ways like this. And this way we stay bound in this material world. So this is really the important section. And then these purports in that third, at the end of this chapter, which we won't get to with this visit, unfortunately, is Krishna, Srila Prabhupada describes that this kama is actually prema that has been contaminated to emotion. Our original desire, our natural desire in life, is in desiring to please Krishna. And because we're part and parcel of Krishna, that pleases us also. When Krishna is pleased with us, then we become pleased naturally. It's like watering the root of the tree. Watering the root of the tree. Then all the branches and the leaves and the fruits and flowers, they all become watered. So, but when we try to be separate from Krishna, then we keep withering up and we take again many, many bodies like that. So then he says, well, how does this actually work? This lust. He says, it's like an enemy. He said, this is the enemy, right? So the enemy has taken over strategic places. What do we have? Indriyani monobuntir, asyadhisthanamuchite, etavamohyatesha jnanamavatadevita. So the senses, the mind, and intelligence can be sitting places of this lust. And each of those, through them, lust covers the knowledge of the living entity. Now think about it. Certainly the senses can become so powerful, addicted to different sense gratifications, that practically your intelligence is covered by that. This wonderful prayer by Madhavendra Puri, because it's talking about kama here. Kama dinam katina katibha pavatita dhuni deshas. Tesham jata mayna karuna natrapha no prashanti. Putsrid jayatan atiyotapatesam pratam lavta buddhis. Pamayata kshadanamavayam mam liyung svatmadasya. Wonderful prayer. So it's spoken by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Sanatana Goswami near the beginning of his instructions on the process of devotional service. He begins with sambandha, which is the understanding relation. Then he describes the process. And that's where this comes up. So what he says there, I put into a little poem. He says, how many ways have I sought to obey the seductive demands of my wicked desires? They've shown me no mercy, yet on I've gone shamelessly trying to quench lust's unquenchable fires. But now I'm rejecting these hellish desires. For my high as a woman, O shelter of fearlessness, please let me serve you with faith that will never be broken. A very important verse. So kama dina, lust, etc. Lust, etc. Because as soon as we surrender to lust, then anger is there, illusion is there, the destruction of memory. Krishna says in the previous chapter, second chapter, right? Jayate Ogusham, Sangastation Jayate, Sangatsan Jayate, Kama Krodo Jayate, Kroda Babadi Samoha, Samoha Smiti Vidrimat, Miti Brankshat Buddhi Nasho, but not Buddhi Nasha Pranashit. It ultimately leads to the destruction of the intelligence. So here he's saying, my intelligence has been awoken. That my enemies, Kama, etc. Because as soon as you got Kama, you got Kroda. Kama, Kroda, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsaya. They are my cruel taskmasters, life after life. And they're never satisfied. I serve them and they're never satisfied. So what to do? He says, now, because my intelligence has awoken, I'm rejecting their demands. I'm not going to serve them, you see. But I have to serve something. I can't just merge. I'm not impersonal. So he comes to Krishna and says, now I'm approaching you for service. Please engage me in your service. So this material desire needs to be sublimated by directing it to Krishna. Prabhupada gives the example of dressing. Everybody likes to look nice and attractive after sex. It's a multi-billion dollar industry, right? Cosmetics and everything. But he says, if you learn how to dress the deity nicely, you'll forget about it. You know, whether you're wearing a simple dhoti or, you know, a sari with no makeup. You don't care if you can dress Krishna so beautifully, isn't it? That's something. And you, of course, eating. That was a big part of the revolution, probably. Prasadam. Okay, you want to eat nice food here, take this wonderful food, but you're connected with Krishna. You're becoming purified, body, mind, and soul by taking this prasadam. Very important part of bhakti. So therefore, Krishna says, in Tasmat Pamanyanyado Niyamyam Bharatarshapa Papanam Jihinam Jnanam Nasham. Because the senses are pulling us this way, that way for sense gratification. And where the senses are pulling us, the mind is going, the intelligence is serving. And the poor soul is riding the chariot of the body and he's going down the mountain path and being destroyed. He's helpless. So by connecting with the super soul, generally, not directly, but through the Shastra and through the Acharya, the super soul comes externally to instruct us. Then we can strengthen the intelligence. The intelligence can control the mind and senses, and the soul can be saved. So that's why he says, my intelligence has awoken. So strengthen the intelligence by hearing the Shastra and taking it into the heart and practicing. Then Krishna gives us more intelligence by which we can actually control the senses. And the loss can gradually be transmuted back into prema. There's a verse of Krishna's Kaviraj has. Atmandriya Priti Vacha Tare Balikam. Krishnandriya Priti Itcha Tare Balikam Prem Nam. So it said, desire to satisfy one's own senses is kama. The desire to satisfy Krishna's senses is prema. So when we chant Krishna in front of the deities, we should feel that we're doing so trying to please Radha Madhava Hari and Lord Chaitanya. You know, I'll tell you a secret. There's a beautiful verse. You can remember it about, which is really illustrated by Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda dancing like this. It's every temple practically you have, you know, big and sometimes small deities. So in the Nityananda Ashtaka, 8 verses about Lord Nityananda, the last verse is really describing that scene. So it goes like this. It says, Tubibranam brata kadasatасajam koma bataram Hito vatraroko chatutapadanam devidiyam Ramantam madhuya ahamadayantam pudajana bhaje nityanandam bhajanatatukandam nidavati. I put it into a poem, but I only know the last line. Oh, friends entrapped in Kali's clutches, yearning to break free, just worship Nityananda Ram, the root of the bhakti tree. So Nityananda, Lord Nityananda, he took Lord Chaitanya's soft lotus hand in his own hand. And then they looked at each other's faces, and then they were both filled with bliss. And then they stood up, and they began dancing and singing around the different places in Bengal. and delighting the people with their blissful glances and their beauty and their kirtan. I'll give you this honestly. So when we glorify Lord Chaitanya this way, we're chanting Hare Krishna, because the Lord is pleased that we're chanting His name, that's where the bliss is coming from. And there's no thought of material sense gratification at that time. And we're not identifying, oh, I'm a Brahmin, he's just a Shudra, we shouldn't dance with him. It's not like that. Everybody is dancing and chanting together. So this Hare Krishna mantra, the chanting sincerely, both in japa and in kirtan, will take your karma and turn it back into prema. This is what's going on. It's actually sublimating our material desires. So we should take that lesson. So then at the end of this instruction, he says, Indriyani paranyaha indiyeva paragmana manasastu para buddhayo buddhivatastasak saha. So he comes to the buddhi again. He says, the senses are above the sense objects. The mind is above the senses. The intelligence is above the mind, and the soul is above even the intelligence. And above the soul is the super soul. The problem is we forgot the super soul, so the senses are controlling the mind. The material mind is infected with the intelligence, and the soul is helpless here. But once we connect again to the super soul, and the intelligence becomes purified and strengthened and faithful, then everything is in order, and the higher self can control the lower self. So this Karma Yoga chapter is meant to bring us to that point. That's what the culmination of the chapter is about. And it's a person of the whole chapter. Evam buddhe, it's all about intelligence. Evam buddhe, buddha, samsatyapanamaatmana, jahi shatram mahabahu kamarupanarasi. It says, here's how to conquer this enemy of lust. Knowing yourself to be transcendental even to the intelligence, use that transcendental intelligence to control the lower self and thus conquer this enemy. Now, therefore, we need a process of yoga. So the next chapter begins. I'm not going to go into the fourth, but he says, what does it say? I spoke this process of yoga to the sun god, who spoke it to his son, or Manu. And that's why he came down to taught in the society. So where's the yoga process? He didn't really describe that, but it's implied that to get to the point of controlling the lower self by the higher self, you require yoga. And ultimately that yoga is bhakti yoga. That is the most efficient yoga for this stage. So we've dealt with a lot of different subject matters. I don't know if we got over time, I'm sorry. But is there any comment or question at this point about this? Yes, please.
He said Krishna, when he said in third chapter, he said demigod worship is fine, but the ninth chapter,
these two verses.
Yeah, the ninth chapter he says, don't worship.
Yes.
That is easy, elevating Krishna, Arjuna to that level to understand that do it here and the next immediate chapters.
The point is, as I mentioned, it's the demigod, the understanding the how the universe is working, that there are demigods and they're supplying us with so many things. This is a way of putting ourselves in the right mentality that we're not independent actors here, that we're depending on so many supplies, and we should know, of course, that the Lord of all the demigods is Krishna. Now, even they forget sometimes. Indra, because of this kind of passionate nature, he tends to fly off the handle and challenge Krishna. Even he's condemned by Shukadeva Goswami. Krishna goes to the heavenly planets with Satyabhama to return the earrings that Bhaumasura stole from Aditi. Aditi is Indra's mother. He's come to give the earrings, and all he wants is one little parijata tree, and Indra won't give it to him. And there's a fight. Eventually he gets it. And Shukadeva said, just see, it's Indra. He doesn't. So the demigods, they're all devotees, but sometimes they forget their position. So by worshiping the gods, at least we recognize that we're not independent here. But more important, but ultimately, if you just worship the demigods and try to enjoy on their level, then you're self-defeated. You don't understand the real goal of life. Human life is great because it's most auspicious for practicing bhakti. Because we're obviously beset by so many miseries here. It's easy to understand that we need help. On the heavenly planets, it's so wonderful, and so you live so long a time, and you're enjoying like anything, then you tend to forget. Just like Mani Griva and his brother, Nala Kuber. Yeah, they became Himalayan chiefs because of wealth. This is such great wealth and enjoyment and longevity. It's not the best situation for being meek and humble, and this is why the Kali Yuga is so. This Kali Yuga especially with Lord Chaitanya, because we can easily become Trina Rabi Sunichena. We have to tolerate and be humble, and we can call out with absolute desperation and helplessness to Krishna. That's good. The demigods can't do that so much because they're so powerful. They live such a long time. So the basic thrust of the Bhagavad Gita is don't worship the demigod, just worship me. Sarva dhamma padachaja mamekam saranam. That's the final lesson. But along the way, it helps to understand our actual situation in this world. And that's why there's a couple of verses here about that. Karma, we're going to act. Don't act sinfully. If you can't, don't yet believe in God, and at least act and sacrifice to the demigods, and you'll understand your position. That's what's going on here. You don't want to be a thief. We want to act properly so that Durga, the jail keeper, will eventually release us. Any other comments? Yes.
How do we understand if we are able to start to please Krishna, or we are beginning to come in the sight of Krishna? Is there any way we can judge ourselves?
Yes. Yes. In the process of devotional service, there are stages. The stages. They're nicely described by Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And I'll just run through real quick. I forget the time. It's okay? Okay, then I'll plan. So it begins with Shraddha, some faith. Just like to come here and listen to Bhagavad Gita, listen to Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, there has to be some faith, there'll be some benefit. So this faith is preliminary interest or respect. And it brings you into sadhu sangha, the association of devotees, sadhus, where you hear more and more. And you get encouraged to actually practice, because there's a certain sadhu. And then comes bhajana kriya, actually performing bhajan. Basically means chanting Hare Krishna, congregation and individually. That's the first thing. And if one gets serious and the faith deepens, then you want to get initiation, which confirms that you're on the path. But then there's a period of narta nivritti, which means all of the accumulated impurities in the heart, the confusions, the material desires, the doubts, and all of that has to be cleansed, and you come to the point of nishtha. Now, nishtha is firm faith. This is not komala shraddha. Komala is delicate faith. And that firm faith consists of absolute conviction that simply by practicing Krishna consciousness, all my aspirations will be fulfilled. You see? So you can tell yourself if you're getting that faith. And a concomitant practice experience is that in the very things that we do, worshiping the deity, coming together, chanting Hare Krishna, you're taking real pleasure. You want to do them. It's not just a duty, you see? And you're becoming less attracted to material things. Desires that you once had, are not good for you. It says, well, you have less of that. It becomes less tempting. That's the real kind of, you can tell I'm becoming more attracted to hear about Krishna, and I want to serve Krishna. That's very good. And concomitantly, you're becoming less attracted to serve Maya and do those things. So that's the real, and ultimately the desire for material pleasure goes down to nil, and it becomes anathema. Just like there's so many things. I'll confess it. I spent 24 of my years on this earth. I was just an ordinary person. I was eating meat. I was, having drink beer a little bit. I wasn't really too much into it, but it's just ordinary American life. But after being in Krishna consciousness for a short time, I just, oh my God, what did I do? You know, it will never, you know, it doesn't have an attraction for me at all. It's not like I have to, no. So that's a sign that there's some advancement there. So less material involvement and anything related to Krishna. That's how you can tell you're advancing. Okay, one more. No, I don't know. I mean, I can go on, but okay, go ahead.
Prabhu, you described how Krishna gives more faith to people worshipping other gods, other demigods.
He says himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, then how will those people get the motivation to give up that and then come to Krishna? Right? Because they're happy, they're getting what they want, they're happy, they're satisfied.
Yeah, the problem is that even though if you get what you want from the worshipping of the gods, you know, faith, that eventually is unsatisfying to you. It's just like, you know, a child gets what he wants sometimes. The mother gives, you know. But eventually he becomes tired of it. He usually becomes tired of it, or breaks it, or, you know, he grows out of it. In other words, any material satisfaction you may get is temporary. That's the problem. What does Krishna say? Yehi sang sparjajam moga dukkha yona evate ajandamam koteya nateshu ramate buddha. This is such a revolutionary statement to the whole world. The very enjoyment that you're experiencing in sense gratification is the source of your misery. Sangsparjajam moga dukkha yoni. And the big thing is adyantamanta. It has a beginning and an end, and so the wise don't take their pleasure. So no matter what you get from the demigods, it has a beginning and an end. It may take 10,000 years, but it has a beginning and an end. So those who are intelligent don't go down that road. Why you waste so much time? Even go into the heavenly planets, you come back down here and you go through some species. Why not just chant Hare Krishna? So, in other words, we have to, by learning, the whole key is to hear from pure devotees. Those who are giving us Krishna's words and Krishna's faith and Krishna himself, purely, without motivation. And that's what you get with Srila Prabhupada. There's no doubt. There's no doubt here. He's experiencing himself. So the whole thing is a diversion. Worshipping this God, that God, you know, trying to enjoy separately. That's a diversion from our mission in human life. The more we can stay straight on the path and strict, the quicker you advance and you feel, yes, this is what I want to have. And even if I don't exceed in this life, I'll pick up next life. Whereas anything material that I may get is going to be taken away. So the intelligent person, you know, really strives for Krishna consciousness. All glory to you, Prabhupada. So tomorrow, I'll try to come at 6:30 for the kirtan. Somehow I thought the kirtan was 7. Okay, I think I've got the schedule. And now there may be some, I think, okay. That's okay.